Hello, I am Nita Scott, your Membership Services Administrator at Society Headquarters. If you are viewing this webinar, then you may be attending a leadership training or meeting where I am presenting via technology or preparing to attend a leadership training session where membership data will be discussed. So I encourage you to make note of any questions you might have throughout the presentation. You are welcome to email them to me or, of course, feel free to call at any time. I'll be glad to chat with you about your questions and concerns, and there may be a time for questions and answers during the training sessions as well. The data we'll be discussing today comes primarily from two sources and is available for your viewing as we progress through the presentation. Membership data for DKG and your state organization is on a handout that was emailed to you along with the link to this recorded webinar. The DROP member survey data is quite a large file and is also available on the flash drive you have been given or was attached to the email. I encourage you to follow along with the parts shown in the presentation and perhaps view the larger file later. The membership data for DKG is very dynamic and thus very hard to compare from year to year due to the fact that we are constantly updating the database with new initiates, reinstatements, and drop members. The total changes multiple times throughout every day. In addition, the very nature of the way we operate or conduct business causes our data to be unusually hard to manipulate. Because most of our data is originated at the chapter level and must then progress through the state level to international, the time delay and the need for occasional clarification and correction can result in issues and concerns when we are discussing membership data. In other words, if your state organization treasurer tells you her numbers are a little different from ours, she is probably the one who is correct. Please ask her to assist me with further information. Thus, every year about mid-July, we stop and take what we call a snapshot of the database. These are the totals that we feel we can use for official comparison from year to year. This slide shows the total membership data at snapshot time for the DKG Society International from 2009 through 2016. Because we have not yet taken our snapshot for 2017, I have included what is our current unofficial total at this time. Not quite 72,000 at the time of this recording at the end of May, 1st of June 2017. We might note that at our peak in 1991, DKG membership was 168,666. Of course, it's a little bit easier to identify one factor that's contributing to the decline of membership if you consider the chart here. This is, over the same years, a graphic representing the initiates, the green bar, and the dropped members, the red bar, for 2009 through 2016. You will notice, I'm sure, that we appear to be initiating half as many members each year as we drop. Another way to look at that is we drop twice as many every year as we initiate. I must tell you that while we are dropping an average of around 8,000 to 10,000 members each year, only an average of about 1,000 of those are due to death. This means that between 7,000 and 9,000 are simply walking away. On the front of your handout is information similar to what I just reviewed, but on the other side of your handout is your state organization data for 2009 through 2016. Again, remember your state organization treasurer has the most up-to-date information at this time, but currently new members are being initiated and their information is often not sent to us until the October dues are sent. Thus, we don't always have the most current figures. An interactive initiate form, by the way, is available online under Forms on the DKG website. I encourage you to ask your chapters to send this information as soon as possible so these new members can log into the website and begin enjoying the benefits of membership. We send a welcome email with information about her new member ID and how to log on, and we copy all the treasurers involved so everyone is in the loop about her new member ID. So not long after I came to headquarters in 2011, I began to seek ways to find out why members were leaving. We began surveying drop members at the time when we dropped their membership. Thus, all dropped members for whom we have an email address receive an email with a link to a SurveyMonkey survey. The survey has questions about their membership experience, about why they dropped membership, about what they might change to make DKG more attractive and engaging, and about the opportunity for reinstatement. While almost 2,000 responses may seem like what many researchers would consider an insignificant sample, we began to see that over the years the responses have remained quite consistent in frequency and quite consistent in tone. Thus, we decided to share the responses with the International Administrative Board, who felt that the data needed to be really considered. We continue to survey DROP members, and we continue to monitor their responses, only to find the same consistency continues. Consistently, over the past 3 years, the good news is that 65 to 69% have responded favorably when asked if the membership experience was satisfactory. Likewise, between 65 and 69% have indicated that they would recommend DKG experience to a friend. Consistently over the past 3 years, 63 to 67% of DROP members have indicated that they would reinstate in the future if asked. So the question becomes, why did they drop? Well, the survey focuses on many of the same reasons the chapter and state organization treasurers report on the Form 18A, the report that usually accompanies the membership and dues collection documents. However, I did split the dues reason, or economic reason, into 2 categories. One which allows members to identify that dues are creating financial challenges, and the other to allow members to indicate that they feel dues are too high in regard to value. The legend on the right of the graph is listed in descending order by percentage. So the largest piece of the pie, in blue, at around 43% represents family and personal responsibilities. This has run about the same amount consistently over the 5 years and is pretty consistent with the reason that chapter treasurers give. Going around the piece of the pie, of course, it includes dropping because the chapter is not meeting the needs of their members, followed by professional reasons, moving. However, we often find moving actually is accompanied by not being able to find a suitable chapter in their new community. Unfortunately, the dues for financial reasons has evened out, with dues not being worth the value over the recent years. Early on, there was a far greater gap between those two. Now on the next slide, I will share some direct quotes from DROP members, or information about direct quotes from DROP members, primarily from the survey itself. Members had an opportunity to give some open-ended responses, both on why they dropped as well as what they might change. Overall, the comments from members who responded indicated that 1 in 4 felt that professional relevance was lacking and that their chapter appeared to make little or no impact on educational policy. Some of their responses basically indicated that the chapter's programs were not relevant, that they were not learning what they needed to know as a professional, many of them citing that the chapter also made little or no impact in their communities. Almost 20% indicated that they dropped due to emotional or personal reasons, some saying they even felt personally or professionally criticized by members in their chapter. Others frequently cited concerns that included expense, and I do not mean just dues. Many talked about the costly meals that accompanied every meeting, or constant requests for donations or participation in fundraising. Many mentioned meeting times, quite often stating that the day or time of the meeting was not convenient for working educators and the chapter was not open to considering other possibilities. Others even mentioned diversity. I encourage you to read the entire document with an open mind and an open heart. Some of the comments that were made may be difficult to hear, especially if you, like I, have a different view of the DKG membership experience. But remember, for these members, this is their perception, and their perception is their reality. Certainly, they may only be a few, but they were the ones who were asked, and they were the ones who answered. So the question becomes, if this is what they said, would others say the same if given the opportunity? So we have been asking and we have been listening. The polls on the website have revealed some interesting viewpoints. The conversations we have with members who call headquarters are sometimes exhilarating and sometimes heartbreaking. We have potential members who call us every week wanting to join our amazing organization. Sometimes we are able to connect them with the local chapter, and sometimes the chapter in her area is not open to this new educator because they say, and I quote, "We do not know her." So we have developed over the years terminology to help us in talking about these responses and the issues they raise. As the conversation develops, I would like you to consider using these classifications, if you will. Most of the issues raised by the perspectives presented by the DROP members are either due to what we call structure or culture or climate. Most applicable perhaps at the chapter level, but remember, the tone of the chapter often reflects the perceived tone set by the state organization and international. So the conversation should perhaps begin here at this level, to be followed by a discussion with chapter presidents as the state organization executive board. The membership committee, in collaboration with the expansion committee, has developed tools that can assist chapters in engaging in conversation as well. So let me touch on a few of the items on this slide so that you will have a little background on structure versus culture. Many of the issues raised by the DROP member survey responses fall into one of those two categories, either culture or structure. Structure is how the chapter is organized, how it plans for activities, how programs are developed and implemented, how the meetings are organized and conducted, how leadership is selected and defined, and all those other logistics that are critical to maintaining the chapter. I have to agree that there is quite a bit of overlap perhaps between what is structure and what is actually culture or climate for a chapter. Culture involves those aspects of chapter life that are more interpersonal in nature, the ones that affect relationships and, quote, make or break, so to speak, the membership experience. While these kinds of issues definitely affect the climate of the chapter and thus the chapter's capacity to attract and keep members, I believe that many problems that fall into the category of culture can actually be overcome by making changes in structure. Think about that as you engage in conversation in your chapter. When discussing chapter culture or climate, we must oftentimes also consider another issue, that of diversity in our chapter and state organization membership, perspectives in our activities, and even our traditions. Generational diversity. For example, does your state organization include members of all generations? What kind of balance exists? Do your policies, traditions, programs, and activities reflect an open acceptance of all generations? And this is not always age. It could be working teachers versus retired, high school educators versus elementary, public versus private. And then there's religious diversity. DKG actually has no affiliation with or conviction about any one religion. So the question is, do your practices reflect a conviction that some of your members may not feel comfortable with? Think about the songs you sing at a convention or the prayers that may be shared before a meal. And of course, the list goes on. Ethnic, cultural, language, economic, all of which can result in walls that divide, exclude, or separate members within a chapter. I encourage you to find out what your members value in membership. Do not assume you know what they want. Ask them. Encourage your chapters to do the same. Now that the conversation has begun, let's continue it. Review the full document and the resources on the flash drive. Visit the DKG website to find resources that can help you in strengthening your chapter. You will need to log in using your member ID and the default password, DKG 2014 Society. Share this information and begin the conversation in your chapters. Use this recorded presentation for a program at the chapter level or in your executive committee meeting. Of course, we all know change, and remember the International Administrative Board has already encouraged us to begin talking about that change. Change can sometimes be challenged and can stimulate resistance. So identify where you might meet resistance in your state organization and in your chapters before you begin the conversation so that you are prepared. So how can you impact the forward movement of the society? As you open the conversation with your chapters and members, I encourage you to consider ways to address what is working and what is not. Change the narrative, if you will. write a new story. Some state organizations and chapters have done just that. One state organization has increased membership over 50% in the past 5 years. Among many other factors and achievements that have supported their growth, they provide for active educators, all active educators, not just members, in their community a newsletter filled with ideas, strategies, and resources ready for use in the classroom. A side result of their support for educators in their districts is an increased interest in membership. Some chapters have doubled membership in 1 or 2 years using the membership recruitment plan. It's available for download under the Resources tab on the DKG website if you're interested in looking at it. Another chapter that was considering dissolution decided to initiate a number of young educators at the local community college. Not only did the initiation of several of them provide some comfort in numbers, I'm more comfortable, for example, when there are several other members who look like me and think like me, but it also allowed them a voice to share their new ideas and for ways of managing chapter activities. The important ingredient, however, is that the veteran members listened and gave them the opportunity to really take the lead. Not only is that chapter growing again, it is vibrant, re-energized, and one veteran member told me she's enjoying the fact that she no longer has to, quote, do it all. So what are the elements you would see if your state organization were to write a new narrative, to change the plot of your current story? In what direction do you see DKG moving in your state organization? What changes might need to be made, if any at all? What is moving us forward? What is holding us back? And what changes might help us overcome those challenges? This is an exciting time for our great organization. Although we face challenges, we are also at a place where we can design our future. I encourage you to make a plan for your state organization. No two state organizations are the same, so I cannot give you a prescribed solution. However, there are resources to help you determine where you are and how you might capitalize on your strengths and develop those areas where you might be weak. Engage your executive committee, your executive board, and your members in open and honest conversations so that we can include all stakeholders in our efforts to move DKG forward. Of course, I am here to assist you with whatever you may need. So if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, please call or email any one of us who serve you here on the International Administrative Board, on the international committees, or at Society headquarters. Email me directly or find any one of us through the DKG website. We look forward to hearing from you.